Hey, it's Bento Beats here. Today we're going to be going over the Make Music With Me that I released yesterday. Um, this is the Ableton project for it. Essentially what I do is write out the whole project first, and then I'll play some of the parts live and do like with one take through. At least that's how I did it. I'm not totally certain if I'm going to continue doing it that way going forward. I've had some thought. Maybe it would make sense to like have all the different parts like in quadrants on the screen and then kind of play through the entire thing like that. I mean, really what I want to do with those is have like a type of passive learning, so that people can just put it on and listen to the music and tune in if they'd like to, but that's not totally necessary. Anyways, I thought it would be cool if I went through some of the parts with all of you and I just showed you how I chose them, the kind of sample packs that I use for this type of music, as well as like what I'm looking for in those sounds, and kind of how I made the Make Music With Me project. I started off with these chords, which are actually just a chord sample that I found. You can see in the browser where I got it from a pack called, let's see here, Lo-Fi Piano Keys, Melodic One-Shots, it's all of them. CPA Bedroom Beats and Lo-Fi Hip Hop. I have a ton of these lo-fi hip-hop packs. They're really great. With lo-fi, you kind of need a ton of samples in order to work with, because you never know what's going to work with each other, and a lot of the art in lo-fi is actually just picking the right samples. The relationships between those sounds kind of become apparent as you play them together, and then the magic really happens when they meld together and you get the compression just right and a right level of saturation. So if we're looking at this guy, it just sounds like that, but it has a saturator on there and a vinyl distortion, and so I just wrote a four chord sequence here, and if we play it, it sounds like that. Sounds really nice. It's playing with the noise here. And this noise is literally just from a pack. This project's actually quite simple. So if you look here, next up I have a sub rhythm, which is also from a pack. There's lots of these that you can find, which are great for texturing. You can layer these on top of each other. Together it sounds like this though. If you want to bring it a little bit forward, which listening to it now kind of sounds like it might sound good. Gotta be careful about that makeup button though, because it can make your samples really loud. And then percussion, just a kick and a snare, just kind of a meaty clunk, and a more solemn snare. In lo-fi, the snares are very rarely strong, so you can have a quiet snare as long as it's, has to be tasteful. And just played in on the keyboard a simple rhythm. Sounds nice. And then I like finding these samples, and the sub/bass that I used was actually just another sample where you can find just like the one note and drop it into simpler in Ableton. So you can see that. So in this pack, for instance, there's just a bunch of these bass notes. I can turn that up. There's a ton of these bass notes. And they're great because you never know where they come from. And lots of people have different ways of processing bass notes and creative ways that you might not have thought of. And so being able to just simply drop something in like this and then start playing it on the keyboard can bring a whole new dimension to a track. And this bass really sunk up with the bass drum. And you really want the two to work well together. So when we listen to and they almost sound like they're like one unit, which is what you want when it comes to making basses like these. And then I just had a very, very minor sidechain. There's tons of tutorials out there if you don't know how to do sidechain, but it's quite simple. And then I found this really awesome sample. Let's see if I can find where it was from here. Show in browser. Yeah, this is from another lo-fi, Dinma lo-fi drum kit here. Let's see. It's just such a great sample. And it happened to match up almost exactly with, like I had to make a slight change to the chord pattern, but it matched up really well. So this is just a high pass EQ, because of course we have a lot of bass content and we don't want it to clash. That's how you get a muddy sounding mix. And this subtile, this is this chorus, and if you hit Q on the keyboard you can see the different presets that are built into Ableton. And halfway down here is subtile, which I just went through them, tried to see if I can make it a little bit more spicy, and it sounded great. So it's kind of got that like mall aesthetic. Then my favorite crash ever is this Lex Luger crash. I think it's called The Crash or something. Crash King. Cymbal Crash King. And it sounds amazing. It mixes with everything. You just add a reverb on it and it's great. You can do lots of really cool effects with it. If you take a cymbal delay, and we throw that on there. We go time, and then bring these down to 1 millisecond. Bring the wet up so that it's just all through the cymbal delay, all the signal. And then you can just bring this to like 43. And then you get like a stereo crash that sounds really cool. You probably want to, let's try it. Yeah, like that. Set the reverb. And then when it crashes, it sounds like super big. You can also change, because it goes like left right now, but you can have it so that it's right left instead. It's kind of up to your arrangement and how you want it to sound. But it sounds like this. And it's just like, oh, that high end that I wanted is just there. I think in this instance I'm going to take off the cymbal delay because it's not that great, but in some instances if you have like a lot of mono content and then you have the stereo crash, like we could go and do something, for instance, just group all these guys and then go utility and then bring this so that it is mono, so just bring the width to 0. So then if you play it, all mono, right? And then if you have that stereo crash, how did I delete it? That stereo crash, like this sound, it probably will sound pretty cool. Yeah, it's like you're covered with the crash, but you're listening to what's in the center. It's a cool effect. I need to get rid of this group now. Ungroup tracks. There we go. Then I mixed it up a little bit where I took off the chords and then it's just the bass with another iteration of the sample. This is actually like, I guess I chalked up a song and then this is just the other part of it. And then a bridge, which is just a change in the chord pattern that links up with the sample that I found as well. It goes into the major. Sounds like you're coming up. So, I mean, there's lots of these packs out there where you can just find really analog sounds that people sampled and put into a pack and then sold at one point. So if we go into the browser, let's see, where's this from? Raw Cuts. Yeah, Raw Cuts. Great sample pack. And you got like lots of this kind of stuff, which is just great. Like this is what you want for lo-fi. It's like so textural and like has so much emotion to it. When you take a whole track and you build them out of samples like these, it just sounds so beautiful. You could like just listen to it forever almost. It feels like it for me. And that's, you kind of hear a bit of that in this because it's all sampled from different places. There's lots of that like original analog saturation that is just like extra distortion frequencies within the sounds. That's what you want. You want, at least for this style, that's what you want. And even for other harder styles too. I think that's something that a lot of people, when they're producing dubstep and like other like trap and like harder styles like that, you still want those analog distortions. They sound beautiful, and you can have hard music that sounds beautiful. You know, you want the saturation within those sounds because it just makes it nice to listen to, and that's kind of like guys like G Jones or Bleep Bloop or other like harder trap producers that write like trap halftimey music. They use a lot of that saturation. You don't actually recognize that they're doing it because it just sounds so hard, but like not in necessarily a completely abrasive way. And something can sound hard but not be abrasive, you know. And so that's, anyways, that's a tangent. Get back to the track here. I just brought it in back to what I guess I would consider the chorus, which is just all the parts together after doing the little improvisation there. And then for the outro, just simply take away the bass, and I found another one of these samples. There's 3 of them, and the chords, and then I mapped. Bring this guy over. Let's see. It's not quite gonna reach. There we go. So essentially, I really like mapping stuff to knobs and then recording in with the knobs because it just feels a little bit more natural than clicking. I never really like clicking in automations if I can help it. And then just a filter. But if you have something like that, you can like create like filter sets or like effect sets on your master and then like map it to if you have extra knobs on your controller. And then while you're playing the track, just have fun with it, you know, just like have fun. If it sounds good, then record it in. And I think that's how you get a little bit more soul in electronic music. And I think electronic music in general needs a little bit more soul. Or at least as much as you can give it, you know. Yeah, so I filtered out at the end, and I added some more saturation and took off some of the high end because it's lo-fi. Added a warm tube, which essentially as the volume increases, it distorts just past that line. So like if it has three different models, the A model, B model, C model, meaning that it becomes active earlier in the volume level. What's a good way to explain this? I'd say something is, let's say it gets activated past 8 decibels. So the 9th decibel it's activated in the B model, maybe it gets activated at 7 decibels. In the C model, maybe it gets activated at 6 decibels. So A is less distorted, C is the most distorted. Yep, then just a limiter and a spectrum, because throw on as many spectrums as you possibly can to try to understand the sound. I mean, I've been producing for a lot of years now, and I still use spectrum and spectrum analyzers all the time. So don't be afraid to just look at the sound. And that's about it. Yeah, this is my first YouTube project like this. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something out of it. But if not, then that's all good too. I just hope you had a good time listening to the music. I'll be posting a playthrough of the track if you want to listen to it, if you haven't had enough of it already. Feel free to make a comment down below, and I will probably, I mean, at this point, I'll probably just respond to you personally, and we can have a conversation about it. And I would honestly love that. I love talking about music. I love writing music. I love listening to music. So if you have any questions, and if I can help you in any way, I would love that. Thanks for listening.